Sports Radio.
Here comes the siren. I want to go higher. Oh, my goodness. He's doing a drive. Deep left field. No doubt about it. Posey will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life.
Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal.
Oh, baby, for sure.
Cabin Sports Radio starts now.
Mike, first off, I want to thank you for coming in a little bit early before the show because we clearly needed to blow off some steam.
Yeah.
What we were just talking about before we went to air just now, that was not appropriate for radio.
No, it wasn't.
So thank you for coming in and allowing us to get what clearly needed to be some stuff off our chest.
It felt really good.
Oh, I feel like we could do a radio show now.
Yeah.
Welcome to Cabin Sports Radio. So much to talk about in the world of sports. Hockey, basketball, Zamboni driving. Oh my God. I didn't even want to get into it again. But
You'll notice I didn't put it in my headline segment.
You did it.
I'm over it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It hurts. It's really bad. I'm sure we'll touch on it, but
It's impossible not to. It's the story everyone is talking about.
It is.
And I don't know if you've seen David Ayers, his media schedule.
oh yeah.
He is making the rounds.
Just booked up,
man.
eh?
Oh my God. I'm sure he's like, and Ollie and I were talking about it this morning on Mornings at the Cabin.
Yep.
He's doing like, honestly, like 15 different like radio and TV shows and interviews. We didn't even get to like later on in the day. I'm sure he's doing like Jimmy Fallon or something later tonight. But man, like that guy he is enjoying his 15 minutes of fame and then some, and good for him.
Maybe get him on Cabin Morning Show with the wheel.
Hopefully, if there's time. Man,
he's a busy guy.
I think he'll have lost his voice by that point. Like, geez.
His wife was live tweeting the game.
Yep.
She's been brought into some of the interviews, too. It is a fantastic story.
It
doesn't really matter which side you're on. It's just a great story. They'll make a movie out of it someday at the expense of the Leafs. It was frustrating to watch in person at the time. But now we can look back, and yes, really is a great story.
And laugh, right?
And laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can.
Laughs of depression,
yes.
as Leafs fans tend to do.
Oh, boy.
But let's get into it with the headlines of the past week. With Cabin Sports Radio News. A look back on the things that happened, and maybe some things that will happen.
Yeah.
Cabin Sports Radio News with Mike Gibbons.
Starts now. Over 30 trades were agreed upon today as part of the NHL's trade deadline. Some of the bigger names moved were Jean-Gabriel Pageau, Patrick Marleau, Robin Lehner, Wayne Simmons, and Vincent Trocheck. Edmonton was especially active around the deadline, trading for Mike Green, Andreas Athanasiou, and Tyler Ennis ahead of the team's playoff push. Ilya Kovalchuk was also traded. Montreal shipped him to Washington yesterday ahead of today's deadline in exchange for a third-round pick.
I thought they'd get a second rounder at least.
Yeah.
Chuck.
And that was sort of the discussion, right?
Yeah.
Once Montreal acquired him, after his contract was terminated by
L.A.
L.A.
Yeah.
I got it mixed up because it was back in the day he signed that, what was it, like a 12-year deal with the Devils, right?
Yeah.
And then that was voided. There's like 4 teams paying his salary right now. I saw a tweet about that today. But now he is on the Washington Capitals, and that sort of was the discussion, right? Like, what would Montreal do with him after acquiring him, after his contract with the Kings was voided? And he started playing pretty well. Some late-game heroics, had an OT winner against our aforementioned horrible Toronto Maple Leafs, and had some other, good games.
I was kind of half starting to wonder if the Habs were just going to hold on to him. Because, he's 36 years old, but he was playing really well for him. He seemed like he had kind of got his spark back ever since coming to Montreal. And he was being embraced, like totally embraced by the city of Montreal. Mm-hmm. And, that's not an easy market to play in, as we know.
Not at all.
So when you've got someone who comes with a reputation and he is completely embraced by that market, I don't know. You might consider keeping him, but they got what really you brought him in for was to hopefully prop him up a bit, and then deal him at the deadline for something. Like I said, I thought maybe they would get more like a second round pick, but that might have been a bit of a lofty expectation. But they got something for him, so good on the Habs. It was a good deal in the end.
I think towards the end of the trade deadline, 3 p.m. Eastern, so 1 p.m. Mountain Time, something like 15 or up to 30 trades had gone through involving close to 50 players and 20 picks. So a lot of those picks coming to Ottawa, of course, who we knew would be big sellers ahead of the deadline, and Montreal too, and obviously getting one in exchange, a third-round pick in exchange for Ilya Kovalchuk. So do you want to maybe jump into some of your... I've got a couple, anyways, for my winners, and then potentially losers for the day. Maybe not, and it's really hard to anoint someone a loser right now, because a lot of these, like we mentioned, involve picks. For instance, in the Pajot signing, which we'll get to in a little bit, because New York then inked him to a 6-year deal. Right. Initially, 3 picks coming the other way, so people are going, what the heck? Yeah. Like, why the massive return for a rental? And then you find out it wasn't a rental at all. But I thought, and even earlier in the day, that it was kind of Edmonton that was grabbing the headlines for me. I like
what they did. Right? For sure, yeah. I mean, they got, 3 pretty usable players in Green, veteran presence in Mike Green too, Athanasiou and Tyler Ennis, who can add some secondary scoring as well. And really didn't seem to give up a whole lot to get the 3 of those players either. I can't remember exactly what they did give up, but it didn't strike me as, selling the farm or anything like that.
I can't remember who was going in the other way in the Green deal. I think Ennis was a 5th-round pick, and I think Athanasiou was Sam Gagner, and then maybe another pick or so. Going the other way. I believe there's another player coming back.
And that's all right. I mean, I think he fits into their scheme really well. He's a really fast skater. Yeah. He's a guy who could keep up with Connor McDavid, that sort of thing, if you want to try him on the same line.
Definitely.
And then Mike Green, just adding a little bit of that scoring edge to the blue line. Yeah. Why not? Yeah. I think the Oilers made some really good moves. Other Canadian franchises pretty quiet, yeah. I mean, Vancouver had already made their move, picking up Tyler Toffoli, and I think that's going to be a great deal for them. And man, look out for Vancouver.
Definitely.
You
see that game on Saturday?
Yeah, 9-3.
9-3. Yeah.
My God. Yeah, they're going to be a really interesting contender this year. I'm looking forward to watching them in the playoffs.
Definitely. And I guess Markstrom did go down in that game, so securing some goaltender depth by picking up Domingue today. Yeah. So that will help them out. And then
still might be in a bit of trouble, but we'll see how that goes.
Hopefully it's not something long-term. Another goaltender on the move today, Robin Lehner, going to the Golden Knights. One sort of, I don't even know if I would call it a dark horse, because I thought in general they had a pretty good day. The Hurricanes, who of course had a pretty good weekend, as we alluded to off the top, but getting Sami Vatanen, Vincent Trocheck, of course, from Florida. Yeah. So a little bit of depth up the middle, and then Vatanen, a pretty reliable blue liner. And they'll get they've got some guys out with injury right now. They'll have to figure out the goaltending situation with both Mrazek and Reimer going out on Saturday. So you hope those aren't too long-term, but they're right in the thick of it. So they were able to pull the trigger on a couple of those. So I kind of like the day for them, maybe shifting. And like you said, other Canadian teams, relatively quiet. There was, of course, the Maple Leafs signing. We knew the Senators would be sellers, so they parted ways with both Pajot and Nemiskimov, who is going to, I believe it's not the Islanders.
Yeah, I can't remember where he went off the top of my head either. And there's a lot of trades, so you got some scrolling to do.
Yeah. Was it the Avalanche? I think it was the Avalanche.
Could have been the Avalanche, yeah. One thing I'm really excited to see, and I hope they do in Washington, I don't know if they will or not, but I would love to see a line of Alex Ovechkin, Ilya Kovalchuk, and Evgeny Kuznetsov. Just a straight-up Russian line. Oh, that would be so fun to watch.
Yeah, so no, he should fit in pretty nicely, I would think. And then, like we said, it's kind of hard to get into losers right away. I thought the most surprising move of the day was Wayne Simmons going to Buffalo, and some other analysts seem to be a little perplexed by that. I think just because going from a team that's not really in the fold, I think if they're able to re-sign him towards in the offseason or at the start of next year, then it makes a little bit more sense. I know things aren't really good in Buffalo right now. They've got a generational talent in Jack Eichel, but just have never been able to get over the edge and surround him with players that have allowed them to go further than they'd like. So maybe it works out for them, but I think to really get some idea of how that trade pans out for them, they'll have to sign him in the offseason.
Yeah, I kind of took that as maybe a sign that they're just not ready to pack it in yet.
Right.
You know, like they want to make some kind of impact with minimal, having to give up a minimal amount.
Right.
And they didn't really give up. I can't remember what it was, but it was a pick, I think.
Conditional 5th round pick.
Yeah. So, I mean, not really anything that you're going to miss.
Mm-hmm.
And Wayne Simmons he can be an impact player.
Yeah, definitely.
And I don't know if he's the type of player that Buffalo really has already. So we might bring a role that, something that they're missing. So if that can spark a late season resurgence for them, then it's all worth it.
Yep. All right. So there were also a couple key signings announced by NHL clubs today. Rangers forward Chris Kreider, who was viewed as a top trade candidate, signed a 7-year extension with New York today. The Leafs, meanwhile, inked defenseman Jake Muzzin to a 4-year deal worth over $22 million to shore up the club's blue line beyond this year. And after being
Smartest
traded,
thing they've done all season.
I know. And finally, after being traded to the New York Islanders, Jean-Gabriel Pageau quickly signed a 6-year, $30 million extension to stay in the Big Apple.
Yeah, I saw that Muzzin signing, and I was like, thank God. Like, I
Yes.
did not want to go into the offseason with this guy hanging in the balance. He's their best defenseman.
Definitely.
Morgan Rielly is a better hockey player overall than Jake Muzzin for sure, but Jake Muzzin is their only sound, solid defenseman. And if they let him go, or if he decided to go for money elsewhere, which he probably could have on the free market, I'm sure he probably could have signed for more than that somewhere elsewhere, based on the way he has played for the Leafs. Like, he's been everything they expected and more.
Yeah. And I remember around
that would have been
the time,
devastating.
I remember when Dubas pulled the trigger on the trade around this time last year to bring Muzzin into the fold. It was a little bit ahead of the deadline. Doughty at the time said that Muzzin was his favorite player, and he believed was actually the top defenseman on the team because of his not your typical offensive defenseman, but a guy that can stay home and lock guys down, and just a winner, right? A Stanley Cup winner with the Kings organization. So as soon as he was brought into the fold, I think it added a little excitement. And there was tons of question marks surrounding the blue line, and there still is. So a little bit of closure here now. I was surprised to hear that conversations were underway this early. I was happy when I heard. So it was kind of expected, but until those reports came out, it was a bit of a surprise to me. But who do you have under contract beyond? You've got Morgan Rielly and now Jake Muzzin. Obviously, you're going to see the internal growth with Sandin and Liljegren.
Yeah.
It seems like the writing's on the wall, like we saw with Jake Gardiner last year. Now Tyson Barrie, very unlikely that he stays with the organization, just giving cap constraints right now.
Yeah.
Cody Ceci, also an unrestricted free agent after this year. So you needed some continuity on the blue line, so that helps them out quite a bit.
And that was probably one of the biggest surprises, too, was that nothing happened with Tyson Barrie. Like, everyone was just waiting for something to happen with Tyson Barrie. And there was even, like, rumors that maybe they would they would put him on waivers.
Yeah.
Which, I was like, I can't believe they would ever do that.
I think that was on the same night that the Leafs had one of their Jekyll and Hyde performances and won 4-0 last Thursday. Had a great game against the Penguins after being humiliated earlier in the week. But it was around that time when the Barrie rumors started to come out.
Yeah.
And I think he actually cracked the TSN top 5 for their trade baits.
Yeah.
Number one, the aforementioned Chris Kreider, who signed a 7-year extension with New York today. But yeah, you saw Barrie creep up there. He is a talented defenseman. He's an offensive defenseman. He can rack up points for you pretty quick. And there's a market for that, and there was significant interest. It seemed like the Canucks, I don't know if it was the Oilers, but the Knights, I think there was interest on their part as well. which would make sense for both of those clubs, but obviously nothing came to pass. I think what Toronto was looking for in return was a package that they could immediately turn around. They're not looking for future prospects at this point.
No.
They don't want picks. They wanted something that they could get a third team involved in, get a package, maybe a player that is ready to play right now with a pick that they could turn around and turn into something else on the blue line. But obviously nothing came to pass.
And unless they could achieve that, it would have all but ensured that the Nazem Kadri trade would have been viewed as a complete and total failure.
Absolutely.
So, that's that. You pretty much had to get exactly what you were saying there, or else it was just no deal.
And as we said with Jean-Gabriel Pageau, now the steep return or the steep price that the Islanders paid to get him makes a lot more sense because that was turning a lot of heads. I think it was a conditional first, second, and third, all for a potential rental. So I think the thinking at the time was that the Islanders had discussions about extending him. Now we know that's the case. I think the third round conditional, if the Islanders win the Cup in 2 years,
and he does seem like exactly their kind of guy too.
Yeah,
like he'll fit right into that system. You know, he's a good motor kind of lunch pail guy that can score goals, but he's not gonna absolutely fill the back of the net, but he's gonna score you some goals, and you're gonna get 100% effort from him every shift. And so I think that makes a ton of sense for the Islanders to bring him in.
And with that, and with the Nemiskimov deal, I think the Senators are up to 14 picks now.
Oh, wow.
In the next, I don't know if it's the next 2 or 3 NHL entry drafts. So they're stockpiling.
Yeah.
They're set up. We're going to stick with hockey. Capitals forward Alex Ovechkin scored his 700th career goal in a 3-2 loss against the Devils on Saturday. The 34-year-old becomes just the 8th player to ever accomplish that feat and still has lots of hockey left in him. An 8-time 50-goal scorer, Ovechkin now has his sights set on Mike Gardner, who amassed 708 goals throughout his NHL career.
Did you ever think a story about a Zamboni driver would overshadow a player scoring his 700th career goal?
All on the same day.
Oh, my God.
Twitter was abuzz. Obviously, so this was an afternoon game. Shouldn't have lost to the Devils, by the way. But, I feel like for the last week and a half, I've been kind of scoreboard watching.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of, maybe for this reason, there have been a lot of Capitals games televised nationally. And I remember when he got $6.99. Even I was watching a game when he was at $6.98 with the anticipations, like this guy can score 2, no problem.
Yep.
And finally got it.
Yeah.
I think, was it from his office too?
I didn't actually see the goal. I have no idea. Yeah, I just saw this the posing with the puck with 700 written on it.
Yeah.
But I mean, congratulations to Ovi.
It's incredible.
He's just going to keep going.
Yeah.
34 years old, but he is showing like zero signs of slowing down. He almost seems like he's getting better, which is a scary thing.
It's terrifying, but he's always in the mix. We're gonna break this down a whole lot further coming up. So we'll shift gears now to basketball. Former Lakers legend Kobe Bryant and his daughter Gianna were honored during a sold-out memorial service in Los Angeles today. The two were among 9 people killed in a helicopter crash outside the city last month. A number of NBA greats and other celebrities were in attendance to pay their respects. Bryant spent his entire 17-year career with the Lakers, winning 5 world championships.
And his wife is now suing the helicopter company. Is that true?
Yeah. So she opened up, actually, I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, opened up proceedings today with a nice tribute. Vanessa Bryan obviously spoke. Michael Jordan there had a funny moment at one point. I'm sure you've come across the crying Michael Jordan meme at one point.
Oh, yeah.
So, he took a little jab at himself, saying now the internet's got something else to play with. He was obviously very emotional, as everyone else was. Shaq there. A lot of current NBA players, Russell Westbrook, Steph Curry, James Harden. So the young and the old paying their respects. Beyonce was there, Alicia Keys. It was a full house. So a really, really nice procession. I like the one part where Vanessa said that had Gianna continued to play and grew up, she would have been the all-time greatest player in WNBA history. And you kind of believe it when she has someone like Kobe Bryant as her mentor.
I mean, based on the lineage, like, how do you argue that?
Right?
Like, man.
But now kind of, like you said, pushing the story forward a little bit. I didn't delve into it too much, but that is what's happening now is The helicopter company at the center of all of this is now the recipient of a lawsuit from Vanessa Bryant. So we'll see how that unfolds. And lastly, the Toronto Raptors won their 16th game in 17 outings in blowout fashion yesterday. The Raptors used a strong first half to propel them to a 127-81 thumping of the Indiana Pacers. The 46-point victory is the largest ever in franchise history. Next up for the second-place Raptors is a showdown with the top-ranked Bucks in Toronto tomorrow night.
They just keep making history without this all-star player that they lost.
They keep on winning. Marc Gasol still out of the lineup, relatively healthy otherwise, but of course they've had, periods where everyone in their starting lineup has been out, and they still just keep on winning. The 15-game win streak, unfortunately, snapped right before the All-Star game. That's always, I think, in both sports, NHL and NBA, that's one of the most dreaded games of the calendar, the one right before a lengthy break, whether it's the bye week or the All-Star break. Teams just don't seem to be there mentally. They're already imagining themselves on the beach or taking that week off, spending time with their family, or going to the All-Star game. And it was against, not a great opponent in the Brooklyn Nets. Weren't able to get it done. But maybe that takes a little bit of pressure off because since the break, they've won 2, both in very convincing fashion. So a really good test tomorrow night, though.
Well, that's what we were saying a couple, was it last show or a couple shows ago? Those are the games you have to worry about.
Totally.
The ones against the teams that you're going to sleep on a little bit. I think they had a game coming up a few games ago against the Timberwolves, and we were like, they're not a good team, but this could be one where the streak ends here. But it ended up happening against the Nets. But I mean, a ridiculous run, and still 16 of their last 17. They are absolutely on fire. And part of our pre-show blowing off some steam here about the Toronto Maple Leafs, we were like, this team plays in the same building as the Toronto Raptors.
Yeah.
Why can you not look across the hall and be like, let's see how these guys are playing.
Yeah.
Look how they play as a team. Look how they play for one another.
Yeah.
Why can't the Toronto Maple Leafs harness any kind of that spirit and bring it into their game? It's just, they've got the same amount of talent on paper.
Right.
Obviously it's not transferable type stuff from basketball to hockey, but I can't believe that you could play in the same building, share a same space with this team that is just pure heart and soul and grit, and just not have any of that come and just drift over to you somehow.
Captured the imaginations of everyone across the country during the finals run last year, and some of those guys would have been in the building for some of those home games.
Sure,
might have even attended the parade. So you think maybe there'd be sort of a residual rubbing off of, wow, you're not just playing for the name on the back of your jersey. You're playing for everyone else in the organization. And that's what the Raptors do. 15 men deep, every single one. The expression in the locker room is next man up.
Yeah.
Someone gets injured, next man up. You are expected to do exactly what the person in your role does. You play for the guys around you. And it's a culture thing. It starts at the total top with Masai Ujiri, general manager, easily the most sought after GM now. Thankfully for the Raptors' sake, under contract for this season and next. You figure there'll be a lot of people swirling around trying to bring him into their ranks. Nick Nurse, what can you say? What more can you say about the guy? First-year coach last year, wins. Now heading Team Canada as we get ready to make a run for the Olympics. Probably has to be in the running for Coach of the Year, along with Frank Vogel and Mike Budenholzer probably. But they just never seem... They continue to amaze you on a nightly basis because they play the game entirely the right way. It's kind of funny that the blowout win came against the Pacers, a pretty blue-collar team that plays really hard, and the last few games against them have been really, really close, really good playoff atmosphere type games. And then you have a 46-point drubbing. And you're not even fully healthy yet, and they haven't been all year long when everyone was doubting them to begin with. So they play the game the right way. They play for each other, and it's just winning basketball. And it starts, people are saying the Maple Leafs don't have a Kyle Lowry. They don't have someone who is just pure heart and soul, will lay everything on the line for his teammates. And then I guess the last little funny bit I said is I've heard people say the NBA parallel would be the Philadelphia 76ers. All the potential in the world,
right?
The young talent in place, but they have mental lapses, and they don't have the focus you need on a nightly basis to get things done. So that's what just makes them so much more frustrating. But you'd hope that the team that they share a building with would maybe rub off a little on them a bit more.
Maybe it is partially because, hockey's always going to be number one in Toronto.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is, right? It's the way it's always been. It's the way it will always be, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Regardless of how the Leafs may or may not continue to fail spectacularly.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is. And maybe it's just something with the sense of just having that that you didn't have to earn being number one.
Totally. And that was with MLSC, right? Like that was kind of the thinking back in the day is this organization is propping up the Toronto. They're an afterthought. They're lucky to be tied to an organization like Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, which has the Maple Leafs, and the Maple Leafs will never go anywhere. But it was almost like the Raptors were the burden, or the orphan stepchild type thing, right? But now very much front and center, while the Leafs continue to fail spectacularly. Do you remember even coming into this season, this was quote unquote the best roster assembled in Toronto Maple Leafs history.
Oh, yeah.
And here we are on the brink of not even making the playoffs. And then you've got the Raptors, who lost a generational talent in Kawhi Leonard and now have a better record than they did without him, are firmly entrenched in the second spot in the East, and have a serious chance at repeating for a championship. But we're still talking about the Maple Leafs.
I love what you said, though, about Nick Nurse. I mean, this is a team that people were writing off. They lost Kawhi Leonard. They were like, okay, well, they're not going to be the same team they were last year. They lost arguably the best player in the world. They're just not going to be. They'll be, they'll battle for. I'm sure they'll make the playoffs.
Right.
They might battle, but they're not going to be. They're not going to be great or anything. This guy has got to be coach of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Honestly.
I mean, Frank Vogel's in the discussion. The Lakers have had a great year, and same with Mike Budenholzer. But no one expected the Raptors to be where they are right now.
Not even their fans. Their most idealistic fans, I don't think could have expected them to be playing this well.
Reel back the tape. I think I said they'd be fighting for home court. So I predicted around a 4 or 5 seed, and now now they've got a 3-game lead on second place. And no one's going to catch Milwaukee. They could even crack 70 wins. They could have a season as good as the Bulls. Was it the 95-96 Bulls? But the Raptors are, right there and firmly entrenched in that second spot. So it's just a great story.
You're listening to Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North, moving sport forward.
Cabin Sports Radio, brought to you by Sport North, as you just heard, moving sport forward. Sport North is a big part of the Arctic Winter Games, which of course are coming up in just a couple weeks' time in Whitehorse, March 15th. And we have the Team NT Arctic Winter Games ladies curling team coming up later on in the show, so stay tuned for that. Also wanted to mention Aboriginal Sports Circle of the NWT put up a post last week for the 2020 NAHC player call-out. Team North is looking for the best Indigenous hockey players from across all 3 territories to compete at the upcoming 2020 National Aboriginal Hockey Championships this year in Regina, Saskatchewan. And you can go to their Facebook, Aboriginal Sports Circle NWT, and click on the link to register. Deadline to apply is March 13th, so get on it. All right. Alex Ovechkin, as you just heard us talk about earlier in Cabin Sports Radio News, became the 8th player to join the 700 goal club.
That's right.
Unbelievable accomplishment. And man, it's a guy who just keeps going. We were talking about this earlier. It's kind of scary the way he seems to be almost getting better. He's 34 years old. So, I mean, he's kind of at that age where players start to see a downturn in their career trajectory. Alex Ovechkin is having another phenomenal season. Mm-hmm. He's got 42 goals. He's in 3rd place in the overall NHL goal scoring standings, just behind who's he behind? Pasternak,
Matthews and
Pasternak,
Austin Matthews. I believe. Yeah,
that's the one, right? Yeah, right. Austin Matthews, that guy. 42 goals. He's gonna hit 50 again, and just a little list of players that he is going to pass this season, likely going to pass by the end of next season, rather. Mike Gartner, he's only 8 goals behind Mike Gartner. Phil Esposito, 717 goals. Marcel Dion, 731. Brett Hull, 741. And if he really scores out of his mind next year, Jaromir Jagr, 766. Those are some pretty lofty company in terms of names that Alex Ovechkin is going to be leapfrogging over the course of the next season. And man, it's such a pleasure to watch this guy over the course of his career.
I don't know, but I usually like to offer pretty conservative predictions. I do the same thing in the NBA because I do think that LeBron James will pass the all-time scoring mark set by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think he's something like 4,500 points behind right now, with still a lot left in the tank. He just turned 35 himself.
Right.
So, you look at these numbers, and what's a down year for Alex Ovechkin? Like 40 goals?
I think he, I was looking at his hockey DB, and that's his down year. It was like 32, 33 goals. That's the thing, like, a mark for a goal scorer is 30 goals is considered excellent.
That's a very good year.
Historically, right? In terms of scoring. Alex Ovechkin has only had a couple seasons where he has scored only in the 30s. He's never scored less than 30 goals in his entire career, which is absolutely remarkable. And that's even including lockout years as well, where he only played like 48 games tops, and he still has not had a single season where he's scored less than 30 goals.
Yeah. I think there's a 32 goal, 33, 38 campaigns, and then you're into the 40s and the 50s and the mid 60s.
Yeah.
Just remarkable. So looking at this list, and with 20 more games to go, 21 more games in this regular season, very conceivable that he passes both Gartner, probably not Esposito.
Probably not this year, but definitely next year.
Looking into next year, I think he gets beyond even Brett Hull. 741. That's 41 more goals in an entire campaign, plus another 1/3 of this season left over, or 1/4, I guess now. Leaving just Jagr, Howe, and Gretzky in front of him. And then I think, passing Howe is pretty... That's 101 more goals than he's registered right now.
Yeah.
At 34 years old, you figure he's got another, you hope, 5 years in him?
And he's got at least one more 50-goal season in him.
I think it happens this year. He'd have to score at about a 0.5 goals per game pace to get there, sitting at 42 right now. Even if he has, like we said, a pretty conservative 40-goal campaign next year, well, that's gonna put him in fourth in the all-time rank, with a very realistic shot of passing both Jagr and Howe. I think at the very least he ends up in the number 2 spot, which might be where he ultimately stays. I would absolutely love to see him pass Gretzky's mark of 894, but obviously that's a much further shot than some of these other ones. I think he falls no lower than number 2 all time. Yeah,
no, I don't disagree at all. I would be shocked if he didn't pass Gordie Howe by the time it's all said and done in his career. I mean, it seems so utterly achievable that he scores 100 goals more in his career. Like, that seems like nothing to Alex Ovechkin at this point. Like, he could get, again, he's hit the mid 60s before. Right now he's on pace to hit, the mid 50s or so.
Yeah.
If he has another, monster year, which he very well could, he could have another mid-60s goal, and then he's like most of the way there already.
Yeah. And then with the Metropolitan pretty open right now, who's to say he doesn't have a deep playoff run, like another deep playoff run in him where he can pot some more goals? It's just incredible. Like, I remember talking about it last year when he continued to climb up the ranks, and with the way the game has changed, with players being faster than ever, more skilled than ever, so many talented goal scorers. It was just last year we saw Nikita Kucherov put up 128 points. But the amazing thing with Ovechkin is just the continued excellence, the consistency all throughout the years. In his rookie campaign, he scored 52 goals.
Yeah.
So we see the premier goal scorers of the game today, the Pasternaks, the Matthews, McKinnon, Eichel, guys who can fill the stat sheet on any given night. The difference with someone like Ovechkin, he combines the size. He's like 6'3", 240 with an unreal finish. The probably going to go down with the best snapshot or whatever you want to call it.
One of the hardest shots.
He's in the when he's in his office as a right-handed shooter on the left-hand side at the top of the circle. He's absolutely unstoppable.
Yeah.
Like so many iconic goals scored from that exact area. Everyone in the building knows exactly where it's going to come from.
Yep.
And he scores every single time.
Yeah. You can't stop it.
And I love that every single goal is just as meaningful as the first.
Yeah.
He's just celebrating like every goal is the most important goal he's ever scored in his life. And he continues to do it. And
Now,
you can't write him off, ever.
The comparison has always been throughout his career because they came into the league the same year. It's always been Ovechkin versus Crosby.
Right.
And I still think, and I mean, if you look at their stats combined, Crosby, as far as goals go, is a far cry from Alex Ovechkin, but is, I think, like 200 or 300 points ahead or something like that. It's they're such completely different players that when you really look at the course of their careers, and it's kind of ludicrous that they have been so closely compared because they're such different players.
Right.
I mean, the thing, I can't remember who said it the other day, but someone made the comment that Sidney Crosby is the best grinder in NHL history, and which is an interesting way of putting it. And you know what? It's something I never would have thought of before, but it's not necessarily wrong. It's the thing. He plays such a different game than Alex Ovechkin. He's not as big as Ovechkin, but you never see him lose puck battles down low because he's just so strong. He's so tenacious. He's so smart with his angles. But Alex Ovechkin just knows how to put the puck in the net. That is his bread and butter. It always has been. And I think the thing I love most about Alex Ovechkin is I don't think anyone has more fun on the ice than him. And he loves scoring goals. He's good at it. Yeah. And I don't get the sense that he is in any, you would think that after all these years that, especially once you already got a Stanley Cup under your belt, you'd think maybe the fire starts to die a little bit.
Right.
I think he's having more fun than he's ever had.
Yeah. Well, imagine the huge amount of pressure off his shoulders now, even just getting that one.
Yeah.
And that absolutely cemented his legacy. No matter which camp he fell in, because like you said, it was always Crosby versus Ovechkin. And as soon as he got that one, I think everyone in the hockey world was happy for him because there were few people in the league under that amount of scrutiny and pressure. So many first place finishes, president's trophies resulting in first or second round exits. Yeah. And the pressure just built up. So it was nice that they kind of flew under the radar that year and were able to win it all against Vegas. But yeah, like you said, someone like Crosby, there might be no one in the league with more lower body strength than Sidney Crosby. He's just tenacious, exceptional on the puck, probably the smartest player in the game outside of maybe McDavid, who he's kind of passed the torch off to a bit. But I was thinking about that today. Whenever we discuss Ovechkin and the two very different careers, but similar sort of trajectories, right? Because they're generational talents. They do it differently, but they'll always be linked. I think you still give the edge just to Crosby. I mean, the 3 Stanley Cups, the gold medals. He's had more career success. Unfortunately, missed a lot more time due to much more significant injuries. But his point per game pace higher than Ovechkin's, and still racked up around the same amount of points, but in much fewer games. But when you're talking about the pure goal scorers and the best that the league's ever seen, he's absolutely in the conversation and probably shortlisted. When it's all said and done, he'll be maybe 1A, 1B, but he is right there. And I think even as he gets older, just because of his size, he's always going to be a force.
Yep.
And with his shot, how do you rule that out? He's always going to be in the mix in special units, like in his office on power plays, so he can rack up a quarter of another 100 right there alone. So 2 exceptional careers, but I mean, there's no way you can dismiss that Ovechkin is going to go down, I think, as a 1A, 1B greatest goal scorers of all time.
There was a Globe and Mail article that came out shortly after he scored his 700th goal that was titled, "It's Time We Start Regarding Alex Ovechkin as one among the all-time greats." And I read that and I thought to myself, when have we not?
Yeah.
To be honest, because I mean, it didn't take long before we realized that Sidney Crosby the hype was real.
Yeah.
He was going to be one of the greatest NHL players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And like we just said, it's always been Alex Ovechkin versus Sidney Crosby. They've always been contemporaries, so that we've always compared the two so closely. So maybe without directly saying it, but in a more of a roundabout way, I think we've always acknowledged Alex Ovechkin as among the all-time greats in his own regard, specifically in the goal-scoring regard. He's never been a well-rounded player.
No.
He's been an interesting player because he combines that goal-scoring prowess with that intimidating size.
Yeah.
He can score a hat trick and absolutely destroy the other team with body checks.
Yeah.
He's an absolutely unique, rare specimen on the ice that you just don't see that type of player very often that can combine those two elements of the game.
Right.
Alex Ovechkin can do it and has done it throughout his career. But yeah, I thought about it more. I was like, maybe we don't say he's one of the greatest players of all time. And I still don't know if we can, because of, like I say, that lack of well-rounded nature.
Right.
But goal scoring is arguably one of the most important parts of the game. I mean, it might be the most important part of the game, and he is quickly solidifying himself as the greatest goal scorer of all time.
Yeah. Never will be in a Selke conversation, and I think that was the knock on him, and he just had the unfortunate situation of coming into the league at the same time as someone like Sidney Crosby,
pretty
who
much
is much more complete of a player, a much more defensive-minded player, much more of a playmaker, and has had, quite frankly, just much more career success than someone like Alexander Ovechkin. Obviously, the Stanley Cup win cementing his legacy, though. But that was the knock. I think he has made strides in terms of becoming more of a complete player, especially on the defensive side of the puck. But I think for me, what really put everything into perspective is the more and more that he climbs up the ranks of this all-time goal-scoring list. And there have been some debates ignited. I see here you've jotted down that only Wayne Gretzky and Mike Bossy have scored 50 goals plus 9 times each. 2017, 2018, Ovechkin had 49 goals.
Yeah.
So he was that close. And he might have even had another 48-goal campaign. He's always filling the net.
Yeah.
And now sort of debates have been ignited. Is there any single active player right now that could also eclipse the 700-goal mark? And we've got some incredible talent in the league right now. Austin Matthews, obviously, who's leading the Rocket Richard race right now. David Pasternak. But can they have that continued excellence?
Yeah.
And then you see that even in his rookie campaign, Ovechkin potted 52.
Yeah.
And that's his average, his career average per season has got to be around the mid-40s, which is Austin Matthews' highest. In his rookie campaign, I think he scored 40. Now it's his career high, around 43, I think it is. You've got to do that for the next 15 years, basically, to be in that conversation. And even guys who have been in the league as long as him, the Crosbys and Stamkos, not quite as long, but he was sort of, right under Ovechkin in terms of one of the best scorers of his generation, are still way off his pace, and it might be insurmountable.
Yeah.
Obviously, injuries play a significant factor, but I think we just, at the end of the day, have to admit that he just has a knack and a talent for scoring unlike anyone we've seen in our lifetime and might not see again. And I think it was debated on NHL.com, and I think the final writer said it might never happen.
Yeah.
We're throwing out all these names, all the great players of the game right now, and there are tons of them. The talent has never been more diversified.
Mm-hmm.
It still might not happen because he's that good.
Yeah, and what you just said, they got to do that 15 times.
Yeah.
That sounds so incredibly daunting. And the amazing thing, and the thing that you just have to tip your cap to Alex Ovechkin about, is that not only has he done that, he's made it look so easy.
Yeah, and fun.
And so fun. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And I for one, hope he keeps scoring goals for years to come. And I really do hope he breaks Wayne Gretzky's record. I think that would be so amazing
Absolutely.
to see. And yeah, I'm a big fan, and I always will be a big fan of the Great Eight. And I mean, again, right there, how do you not think we think of him among the all-time greats when his nickname is the Great Eight? Salute the Great Eight joining the 700 Club and onward to the 800 Club. And we will be back on Cabin Sports Radio.
Cabin Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Cabin Sports Radio. I am joined in studio by the Ladies Arctic Winter Games Team NT curling team who will be heading to Whitehorse for the Arctic Winter Games. Very excited to have them in studio. Ladies, welcome to Cabin Sports Radio. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to go around and get you to introduce yourselves first off really quick. In no particular order. Grace, why don't we start with you? Give us your name, your position on the team, and your favorite professional curler and why.
My name is Grace Twa. I'm the third on our curling team, and I think my favorite professional curler is Kevin Cooey because... Oh, wait, no. I changed that. Anna Hasselberg from Sweden. I don't know why. I just really like her. She seems really positive and cool.
Okay.
I'm Cassie Rogers. I'm the skip, and I do really like Kevin Cooey because he's from NWT, and he's a really good curler. And I love watching him play because he's really calm and collected. And I also like Brendan Botcher because he's really nice.
My name is Parker Waddell, and I'm the lead on the team. And I guess my favorite curler is Kevin Cooey because, yeah, he's a great role model and a really good curler.
A lot of Cooey fans in the room. All right. And last up.
My name's Chastity. I'm the second on the Arctic Winter Games team. And I would probably say Kevin Cooey is one of my favorites because he's just from the NWT.
Oh, man. Kevin's head's going to be swelling after tonight's show. Holy. All right. And, Coach, let's get you in here, too. Coach, what's you're obviously the coach of the team. Introduce yourself and your favorite professional curler and why.
Yeah, my name's Greg Skogie, and like the ladies here, I would have to say that my favorite curler is Kevin. For a couple of reasons, I think mentioned was he's from Yellowknife from the Northwest Territories. Obviously, one of the premier curlers in Canada, and I like his style of play. He plays very aggressively, and I like that he's calm and collected, and he's just a real fierce competitor out in the ice.
The girls, just before we went on air here, said that your answer was going to be yourself. What was up with that?
Well, one day I hope to get a chance to play against Kevin Cooey at one of those big events, but haven't been able to make it there myself yet.
Okay. So you're obviously all very excited, looking forward to the games, which are just around the corner now, March 15th. You're headed to Whitehorse. Cassie, why don't we go with you? You're the skip of the team. Generally, that's the leader of the team. Have you been to the Arctic Winter Games before?
No, we've never been. We did try out 2 years ago for the 2018 ones, and we didn't make it. So we made it a big goal to try out this year, and we made it. And the finals to make it were very intense and quite stressful, but we made it, and I'm very glad that we did. I'm very excited for the games.
So your season is obviously going pretty well then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So it's obviously a big experience at the Arctic Winter Games. What are you looking forward to most?
I'm really excited to meet the other teams and get to play against a lot of junior teams. There's only a few junior teams that play competitively in the NWT, and it's always fun to go and play against other juniors and also to meet them outside of the rink and make new friends. And I'm really excited for that, and also maybe trade some things with them.
Okay, and what about the competition that you're expecting? Are you expecting it to be like a pretty high level of competition, or are you kind of going in, like as Greg kind of scouted it out for you as far as the teams you're going to be playing against, or is it kind of you're just kind of coming in fresh and just taking it all in?
We haven't played any of the teams there. We did meet the Yukon team before, but we didn't get to play them. But I think that it will be about our competition level, and I guess there's not really much knowing until we get to play them. But I am excited, and I think we can pull off some wins, and I really am looking forward to competing against new teams.
Okay, Grace, how about yourself? What are you looking forward to most at this year's Arctic Winter Games?
I'm really looking forward to, like Cassie said, playing new teams, because there's not a lot of teams in the NWT that we play often. So branching out to like new teams and playing them is going to be really fun. And also, I think it'd be really cool to play international teams, because maybe they don't speak English. So it'd be cool to play people that we can't like listen in on their strategy, and we have to like make guesses of what they're trying to do. So.
Do you do that often?
Sometimes.
Well, don't give away all your secrets on this show. But I imagine it gets probably a bit redundant and a bit boring playing the same teams over and over. So that'll be an exciting opportunity to play some different teams and probably learn some different things and get some different ideas and perspectives on how teams approach different situations.
Yeah.
Chastity, how about you? What are you looking forward to most?
For me, it's the same as them, getting to meet the new teams, finding out, like, traveling would be nice.
Have you been to Whitehorse before?
I've never been to the Yukon, so it would be an experience for all of us as a team and as for me, because I've never been to the Yukon.
I hear it's just like Yellowknife, except not quite as nice.
Oh.
Just kidding.
Okay.
I hear it's beautiful. I've never been either, but I really, really want to go one day. So I'm actually, truth be told, very jealous of all of you right now. Parker, same question. What are you most looking forward to at this year's games?
Well, like they said, meeting new people obviously is really exciting, because we're usually stuck with all of the same people, so we kind of know them already.
Yeah.
But also looking forward to, like Cassie said, the trading of everything. Just getting to see how that works out, trading pins and hoodies and everything, because that'll be really cool.
That's a really fun part, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. How long have you all been a team together?
2, 3, almost, maybe. Yeah, 2.5 years.
2.5 years? Okay, so you've come together pretty quickly then, chemistry-wise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Greg, have you been the coach of the team the entire time?
I've been helping out on and off for the last 2 or 3 years. Main coach Brian has worked a lot with the girls, and fortunately can't make the trip, so I'm kind of stepping in to fill in and hopefully can keep them going on their same path, which has been going up. They've had a really good year so far, and not only have they made it to go to Arctic Winter Games, but they're also going to a national event in April too. So
nice.
They've had a good year, and I expect good things out of them.
And how have you seen them come together as a team in the last 2.5 years?
Well, I think from a couple fronts, I think just age and maturity. They're just getting bigger and stronger, and so they're able to make all the shots now. And I think they've also just been at the game and working at it really hard for the last couple of years. So from a strategy level, they've gotten a lot stronger, and I think that they can pretty much compete with any team, in the north or down south, because of their advancement in the last couple of years.
As a coach, is this your first time going to the Arctic Winter Games?
This is my first time going as a coach.
Okay.
I was involved in 2018 as an official with speed skating. I'm looking forward to going both in my new role as a coach. It'll be different to be part of the games, being inside the games, being in the village, and being with the athletes. And also, from being at the games last time, I'm really excited for the girls and for myself to go again, and just the meeting of new people from all over the world and the camaraderie that goes along with it, and the pin trading. It's a really neat event, and really excited to be a part of it.
Right on. Well, we'll leave it there. We're really excited for you girls. Best of luck at the Arctic Winter Games. We'll be following along here at Cabin Radio, and hope you bring home the gold.
Thank you.
You're listening to Cabin Sports Radio. Miss part of the show? Download the podcast at cabinradio.ca or on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Spotify.
That'll do it for tonight's episode of Cabin Sports Radio. Thank you so much for joining us. On behalf of Unbreakable Mike Gibbons and myself, we want to thank you once again for listening, and big thanks to the Arctic Winter Games Team NT Girls Curling Team for joining us, and good luck to them March 15th, the Arctic Winter Games in Whitehorse, Yukon. Very much looking forward to that. We will leave you with some audio, the celebration audio for David Ayres, his big game, of course, his huge moment, winning for the Carolina Hurricanes, and the audio from the dressing room, including speech from Coach Rod Brindamore. Have a great week.
Tell you what, I'll be quick here. There's not often in the game that you get time to talk about create memories. That's why you do this. You'll see when you're done, you'll go back, you'll look back. All you have is the memories that you got. And you guys just gave me one. Okay, you gave each other one, but that's the memory that I'm going to have forever. The way you guys played in that third period for you, okay, awesome. And the way you played for us. Proud of you guys. I don't know what your song is, but you have a song. Great job.